People ask me about my story, but I don't really like talking about the story, but, of my life. But I'll give you some background if that helps. I was raised in Seattle, Washington, and was a businessman, and retired when I was about 32, and really didn't want to continue in the rat race. I really wanted to live a more simple life and not a life that was kind of 9 to 5. So long and the story of the short is that after a divorce, my mother passed in the same year, 1984. Suddenly, business ventures went wrong suddenly, and there was about 5 different financial situations that all happened at the same time, and I went through about a $900,000 reversal. And suddenly I was without the wealth and the self-identity that I had before. And so anyway, as that happened, I went right back at it to try and get started again, and the money that I made, put an investment to get ahead again, and that went bad. And then same thing occurred again. And so suddenly nothing was working out. It was just, it was as if I tell friends that the ocean was draining into this 3-foot pipe. There was this kind of swirling effect that was sucking me down. And I was resisting. I was saying, I don't know who you are or what you are, but you're not going to get me. And so this went on for months. And finally, some friends came by and we were talking, and they just said, John, why don't you just let go? And so I made that choice to just let go to whatever that calling was. And this was in 1988. And so long and the short of it is, I ended up going to my first spiritual workshop. And, as a businessman, I loved sports. I played semi-pro football. I wasn't really a new ager, but, and I didn't do the hippie thing. I was a businessman when I was young. So, I said, okay, I'll do this thing. And so through that process, this idea of a sweat lodge came up. And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, at some gathering that was related to the sweat lodge, or related to the spiritual workshop, they had a sweat lodge. And so for whatever reason, we were in California, it was summer, and there was a burn ban, but being a businessman and used to getting my own way, I convinced these people that, a sweat lodge was a good idea. And so we had this great experience of building the sweat lodge and building the fire pit, and it was really funny because the day before the sweat lodge, I started having these little singing songs that came to me, and they kind of sounded Native American. It was kind of like, and I'm walking around the whole day singing these kinds of little songs, wondering, have I flipped out or what? And so in the following morning, the sweat lodge, we entered into it early in the morning, and I had visions in the sweat lodge. I had these visions. And then when I came out, when the sweat lodge was over, most of you probably know that a sweat lodge is a Native American ceremony that's 2,000 years old or older. And so as we were exiting the lodge after the 3-hour experience of pouring water on hot rocks and sitting in the steam and praying and doing ceremony, as I was exiting, everything outside the lodge looked completely different. I mean, it was like I realized, man, I'm in a different space. I'm in a different place. And as I went outside the lodge, I had more experiences. And as part of that, some kind of unknown energy started to talk to me telepathically. And we had quite an interaction and an experience. As a result of that, the lodge was so powerful that it changed my life completely. And this energy that spoke to me continued after the lodge. It was as if it wanted to guide me and kind of show me the ropes, so to speak. And so I traveled to see the Great Pyramid of Giza, went to Israel and visited Bethlehem, went to Greece and visited Delphi, and later went to India and spent time. And so all of this was part of this journey of traveling and seeing sacred sites and getting more of an idea of the broader spectrum of the past, more of the ancient history. And so as a result of that, I got the idea that they were showing me some things. And the following year in '89, I did some more journeying. I went to Findhorn, which is in Scotland, had some more amazing experiences. And so by the end of '89, I pretty much said, look, okay, I know you want me for something, I don't know what it is, but I'll give you a year to let me know. And so I bought this around the world ticket, and it began in New Zealand, and so that's where I began to write. As I began to write, I started designing these systems about spirituality, about life, about this unfoldment that was occurring, as I was evolving. And the books, started out with 5 books, then it ended up being 17 books. And so here was this whole huge system of information that I was downloading and being guided to write. I actually hired people to help me do it, and it was quite a sophisticated system. And it took me 5 years to accomplish that, and that's really working pretty much full time. And so then when I got those 5 books, or 17 books, kind of pretty much assembled and ready to be completed, I was kind of guided to understand that those books were just for me so that I could learn to articulate and communicate this kind of information. And that those books had to be kind of simplified and boiled down to just an essence. So what occurred is I ended up having these 9-word systems, and there was 9 systems of 9 words, and they vibrated this way and calibrated that way. So it was quite an interesting way to work with words and really begin to understand that words are vibration and that there was a lot of meaning in words. And so this whole idea of developing these systems, and I got them all vibrated. For example, one of the systems would be trial and error, the traditional way of doing things, and then transitioning into something that's more transformational, then transmutation, then transcendence, then transpersonal, and then transcendental, and then transfiguration, transparency, translucency, like that, even though there's more words than just 9. And so, and all these systems of words all meant something in and of themselves, as well as they kind of formed an information packet. So when I got those 9 done, it was as if another system appeared. There's more to this. So, okay, so I got that 10th system, and then I had to recalibrate, revibrate the whole thing because that was new information. Long and the short of it was there ended up being 44 systems of these 9 words. And that took 3 years by the time I was done. So that now I'm into this 8 years. And again, when I completed that, I got the same guidance that I needed to now simplify those 44 systems of 9 words down into an essential essence. In other words, absolute universal truths that were true in the beginning of time. They're timeless, they're changeless. And so that took me another 2 years to break those 44 systems down to basically 3 words. And when I got to those 3 words, I realized, oh my God, here's 10 years of my life, over 40,000 hours of time involved, easily. And now I've reached the end of it. And it was kind of like Forrest Gump in the movie when he had been running for 2 years and suddenly he decided to stop running. And so here I was, 10 years of intense learning through being guided and all this writing and all the words and combinations of things. I went, okay, this is it. I can't break this whole thing down to any more of an essential essence than this. And the 3 words were, now love God. And now is the only moment you can experience. Love is the highest state to exist in that now moment. And God, if you want to call it God or life or whatever you want to call it, is everyone and everything, everywhere in existence. So it was the totality, or what you might call the I am. From there, I've been back to New Zealand. I traveled back to New Zealand during that time, did a lot of peace projects, and did a Planet Earth Peace Day project for the millennium. And that was to get 2 billion people at the first light of New Zealand for the millennium, because New Zealand is first light. It's where each new day begins. And so there was a global telecast that was going out to the world that was going to start in New Zealand that had 1 billion people. And so the idea of the Planet Earth Peace Day project, which was originating from New Zealand, was to get 2 billion people to all have the same thought at the same time when the sun came up. So those are some of the things that I was involved in. Since 2000, I've been continuing this journey of them really teaching me about space and how big creation, the universe, the cosmos, existence, exponentiality, eternity, infinity, which is what we're moving into, the infinite, how expansive that is. And even more important than all of these things, this was really, all of this was nothing more than my own evolutionary process. From this, I've developed a way of evolving people in a very accelerated way. I've had a couple of spiritual centers, and I've been fine-tuning for like 25 years the essential essence of evolution, enlightenment, what it is to be enlightened, and how to actually graduate or to go through graduation into the University of Space. In other words, we can't just sit here on this planet forever, and this is it. There's so much more to the process. This has been quite a 25-year journey, and the work that I'm coming out with now, I take time throughout this process. In this case, I've taken 2 years kind of to be in solitary to come up with the final pieces to this overall project to help people heal instantly and to have spontaneous evolution and instantaneous enlightenment and immediately enlightened. And there's reasons for this. It has to do with where we're going, not where we've come from. And so this information is more about the newest cutting edge, but it's more than that. It's the next step, and it's also the future. It's all three wrapped in one. The work work is very dynamic. I watch people evolve right in front of my eyes. I mean, in a 3-day workshop, people will evolve further in some cases than they have in their entire life. And it's not just me doing it, but it's a lot of support that I have that I've gained from working with what I call grandfather. You could call that whatever you want. You could call it the infinite oneness. But there is a way that I've learned to work with life itself. And so through this process, I've been able to guide people, mentor people in such a way that they evolve so fast, they evolve further and faster in days than they have in a lifetime. And so this is the work that I'm now bringing out. I'm very excited about it. And we have people that have actually had experiences, and they have responded in a delightful way, and they're very excited about the results that they've gotten. And I'm looking forward to bringing this project out. It's called The One Event. I've also designed some soul software. The One Event is you have the experience of what evolution, enlightenment, and being enlightened is, and also to experience a state where everybody in the room's enlightened. And so that's the experience of it. And then the soul software is an audio-visual video presentation that really explains the step-by-step process. And then there's also something that I call Live Alive, which is a practice of daily conference calls to maintain the energy that they've experienced, and also to have weekly meetings to keep them in that energy. And so they not only have the experience of it and how, and it's explained in the step-by-step process, but also there's a way to keep them in it until they're ready to actually go through the graduation process. And so that's how this has occurred, and would love for anyone who has an interest in it to get in touch with us at theoneevent.org.